Hey, good morning, guys. It is Ricochet with Thunderstruck Transport Services. Thanks for tuning into my channel, Nothing But Trucking. Today, I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of a commentary, I guess, on hours of service for new dispatchers. So, if you're a new dispatcher, or if you're maybe new in dispatching your own truck, maybe you're new into trucking and you got your own authority now, maybe you've been a company driver, and now you're just starting to book your own loads. As a company driver, you're sure going to probably remember some of the problems you had possibly with your dispatcher, depending on, which company you work for or, how you did it. But hours of service when it comes to planning a load is so important, especially for the dispatchers, to have this in the back of their mind. And I'll give you the scenario, what I'm talking about, what you need to know. Finding a load for a truck is the smallest percentage, pretty much, of what a what a dispatcher has to do. I mean, that's the final stage of looking for a load, or getting a load on a truck. The final stage of it is actually calling and trying to find the load. There's a lot more stuff you got to do prior to that, and of course, this all is a very quick procedure. But there's so much stuff that's got to go on in the back of your mind, and questions that you got to have answered before you pick up that phone to the broker. You see a load on the load board. Hey, that looks great, but there's so many things you need to know first. So let me tell you why, or what. First thing you need to do is you need to be in contact with your driver by either calling them, texting them, whatever it is, to find out what their hours of availability is for that day. Do they still have to take their 30-minute break? How many driving hours do they have left for the day? And you should also know how many hours they have left in the week. Or you could be in direct contact, but you should have direct access to their ELD, so you're always able to see what their HOS is. So the reason you need that, of course, is when you call to book a load, you need to make sure that they got enough time to get there and get the load to where it needs to go. Just because you find a load, that's great, but what if he's not going to be able to make it in time? Then if you can't make it, you get a service failure check mark, probably get put on the 411 dispatch board, which is what brokers use to basically blackball all the dispatchers, companies that, they don't want to use anymore because, they don't do a good job. Either they're always canceling loads after they book them because now they find out they're not going to be able to make it, or they just miss the load completely after they get it loaded, and then they call to try to reschedule. These are things that brokers keep track of on their own little black book that they have for carriers and dispatch services and things like that. So my scenario is this. I picked up a load yesterday at Coca-Cola down there by Lakeland, Florida area, Auburndale to be exact, and my appointment was at 11 a.m. or 11:30, excuse me. I had delivered 10 and a half hours away to Clayton, North Carolina by 9 a.m. the next day. So 10 and a half hours. That's almost more than a full shift. You have 11 hours you're able to drive. Guys, drivers, dispatchers, don't count 11 hours. It always used to be you had 10 hours of drive time and then you had to take your break. But if you have that, you're not able to use your full 10 hours, because after 9 hours, you got to start looking for a place to land that truck. So you may only drive 9 hours and 15 minutes because maybe there's nothing another half hour or so down the road, you know, or maybe you do get to drive, you know, the full 9 hours and 45 to 9 hours and 50 minutes, you know, that it's going to be because you got to a spot just before your 10-hour break. But you weren't able to use the full 10 hours. So that's why they changed it a long time ago to 11 hours. It's so you can use your 10 hours and then start looking for a place to pull your truck over without risking the chance of going over your, you know, a violation of your driving limit. So don't count 11 hours when you're doing your load planning, because you're not going to use it. So remember, you got 10 hours, all right? So I'm already, technically in that aspect, I'm 30 minutes behind the ball. All right, so if I get over there at 11:30 when my load time is, you probably want to book an hour or two for loading. So we're looking at 1:30 by the time I'm going to be able to get out. And then driving everywhere, I've got 10 hours before I got to find a place to stop. Plus, I got to take a 30-minute break in there. So now we're looking at 10 and a half hours before I can stop for the night or start looking for a place to stop. But I'm going to say 10 and a half hours. So I get out of there at 1:30, that's putting me at around 11:30 at night. Well, now I got to take a 10-hour break, so 11:30, that's 9:30. I'm already 30 minutes past my delivery time. Plus, I still got to drive maybe an extra 30 minutes or 45 minutes, depending on how far I made it. That's if everything goes smooth. So, technically, probably can't really make that load. It's going to be really tight. Well, I was lucky. I did get out. I got there and checked in at 10:30, and I got out of there by 11:30. So now to take my break, 10 hours. Oh, plus I only took me about an hour. It took me about 45 minutes to get over there. So now I'm down to 10. I'm down to 9 hours and 15 minutes of drive time. So now I still have an extra almost, let's say, an hour and a half that I need to finish up the next morning. So I got out of there at 11:30, and we had some accidents in Orlando. They ran us off the highway to a detour because they had the highway shut down. So I think I probably lost 30 to 40 minutes with all the slow traffic and everything like that. So long story short, I shut down at 9 p.m. last night so I can get up at 7 a.m. No sense. I mean, and I'm 3 hours away from my destination because of the holdups that I had with traffic. So now I'm not going to be arriving until 7:30, 10:30 this morning. So I kind of figured I was going to be there around 10:30. My appointment was at 9, but I knew I wasn't going to make it. Told all my people that I'm not going to make it, and of course, it's being a weekend, it's a Saturday, so who knows how hard it was, or maybe wasn't, to get a hold of somebody to let them know, but that's the way it works. So those are what you need. That's the way you need to plan your load before you even pick up the phone to that broker. You got to know, okay, well, how long is it going to take them to get there? How long is it going to take them to load? You know, you got to figure at least an hour. I try to figure 2 because that seems to be the way it goes. And there's so many other times it's 3, 4, 5 hours. Of course, then you're not really running into problems that you created. But if you figure at least 2 hours to load when you're doing your estimated times. So get your load time, add 2 hours, and then start counting how long it's going to take you to drive under normal circumstances. And when you're using Google Maps to find out your drive time, remember to add about another hour and a half on top of it, because Google Maps is for cars, not for trucks. Unless you have truck routing software, which I recommend you guys get. A good truck routing software, PC Miler, something like that, will certainly help you. But if you add about an hour and a half, somewhere in that area, you should be pretty close. So yeah, so that's about it. So those are all the things that you need to keep in mind when you're trying to book a load, because once you know that, then, you know, you start looking on the load board, you start talking to these dispatchers, asking, you know, their load time and unload times. You're now going to know if you're going to be able to match that. And if for some reason you don't think you're going to, then you need to let the broker know right then and there, well, you know, this is how long it's going to take to drive there. You guys got to figure in your brakes and all that other stuff. You know, what can we do to adjust the schedule for delivery? You know, and, you know, most of the time they're going to, you know, see what they can do for you. So if not, and it doesn't seem like you're going to, then, you know, that's your decision whether you want to take it or not at that point. But you need to know those things before you pick up the phone and call that broker, is figure out your time, your hours of service. So important to know hours of service as a dispatcher. If you don't know how the logbook of a driver works, then you're already got yourself shot in the foot to becoming a good dispatcher. And you're going to not be in the business very long. You're not going to keep clients very long, because you keep messing their schedules up. And dispatchers, man, this is not a business to go into very quickly if you've never done it before. There is so much training that you need to know. It's not just, again, getting on the load board, finding a load that's going to go to the destination that your driver wants to go. And keep in mind, you've got somebody else's family's livelihood in your hands. You're the one that's going to be able to make sure that that driver can make the money that he needs. He's relying on you to be able to pay his bills. So y'all screw up because you don't know what you're doing, then you're not just, you know, hurting your pocketbook, but you're hurting somebody else. You may be responsible for somebody else losing their job, or, you know, losing their truck, or losing their house, or, you know, not being able to pay a bill, and now they're screwed in other ways. And that's a big responsibility. You know, you are the one that is making the financial decisions of somebody else, not just your pocketbook. And so you need to make the most money, and to do that, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know the markets, you know, what states have what products coming out of what time of the year. You know, if you're looking at reefer, when's the potato season, you know, out of Idaho or Arkansas with the rice and the pickles and things like that, or, you know, melons out of Colorado, or melons out of Florida, and, you know, stuff like that. If you're hauling reefer, you know, you need to know commodities, you know, what the seasons are. You know, I say reefer because I'm running reefer. It pays better than most other freight, unless you're getting into specialized transport, you know, like RGN, step deck, flatbed with oversized, overdimensional, double drops. You know, RGN, I said that. That's a removable gooseneck trailer, which is what you see all the heavy construction equipment on, you know, bulldozers, excavators, you know, things like that. That's called an RGN. It's a removable gooseneck trailer. You know, your step deck, your double drop decks, you know, those are what you're going to haul the specialized equipment on. Those pay good. But then you got all the other stuff that you got to deal with. You need to know about escort services, how to set them up, how to get your permits, how to route your trucks. You need to know the laws, because oversized, overdimensionals, depending on what it is, can't run on the weekends, can't run at night. You know, have to run a very specific route. And then if it's something really overdimensional to where you got to get your escort services involved, and possible power line companies to take down power lines, depending on, you know, stoplights and things, depending on where you're going. That's another nightmare in itself. And sometimes those loads takes, you know, weeks to plan. So, you know, those are something you'll never get into until you are extremely experienced and really know what you're doing. But most of that work is going to be done with the broker and the shipper, receiver, but you will definitely be a part of it and need to know the process. So let's not even worry about that stuff for now. So mainly you just got your flatbed van reefers, you know, your Conestoga flatbeds, things like that is probably what you're going to be dealing with. And I see a lot of brokers today, trying to get into dispatching these box vans, man, that's a lot of work. You know, when you figure a box van, you know, these people aren't out running over the road. You know, they want short little runs to where they're home every day, which means you need to be on the phone for every van. You need to be finding pretty much 2 or 3 loads a day, you know, for that truck to be able to run. One truck to find 2 or 3 loads per day is a lot of work, and it doesn't pay that well. I don't think it's worth it. I think box van drivers ought to just dispatch themselves. That's my opinion, but it is what it is. So, I mean, if you're successful at it, you know, hey, power to you. To me, it just seems like way too much work, in my opinion, but, you know, hey, that's what I am. I've been out here 37 years, never drove a box van. I'm only going on, I could be wrong. I'm just kind of going off what I know what it's like to book regular freight on an OTR truck, and, you know, that's a job in itself, but at least you have time to plan once you get a truck booked before it has to go and get another load booked. I mean, you need to be working on that stuff right away, but it's not like you got to worry that you got to get it booked that exact same day because that driver needs to get back home like you do in a box van. So that's about all I got to say on this one here. Hours of service, make sure you know what they are, know what the DOT regulations are when it comes to hours of service. Learn the split sleeper berth rule. That's another sleeping dog that, you know, once you poke it, it's pretty weird to understand. But the split sleeper berth option can certainly help you in a lot of cases complete a load, but then it also causes some other problems, you know, once you activate it. So I don't like to use it. I try very, very hard not to, because it just messes up my schedule, and I'm not one that likes to drive at night. I never have. I've always, I mean, out here as many years as I have, I've tried to run all night, and I can't sleep during the day. That's my problem, is I'm up at 6, 7 o'clock every morning, sometimes 7:30 maybe, and if I can't get going until 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning, because I ran till, you know, midnight, 1, 2 or something in the morning, then I'm sitting up for like 2, 3 hours in the morning, just sitting up here in the front seat doing nothing, wasting my day. So that's why I try to get shut down by 9 p.m. So, you know, come 7 a.m. I can get up and, you know, get full use of my day. And that's the way I try to schedule it. I've tried running at night. I can't do it. And if I do get the chance to sleep several hours during the day, you know, maybe even sleep, you know, there's been a few times I have, you know, slept. I was just really tired, and I have slept, and, you know, get up at 9, 10 o'clock at night, come midnight, man, I passed out again. So it doesn't work for me. So you just need to know that from your drivers, you know, how they run, you know, and all of that good stuff. So that's all I'm going to cover on this one, is hours of service. How important it is to know that when you're dispatching, know what the laws are, or I should say the rules from DOT, split sleeper berth options. There's tons of videos on YouTube to learn how to, you know, to learn your hours of service. And all of you guys, all of you dispatchers should have the little green DOT rules and regulation books, the 395, DOT 395 books. It's the little green regulations book. You can get them at any truck stop. You can go online to J.J. Keller and order one, or you can go buy one at the truck stop. They ain't very expensive. It's just a little book. It's all of your, everything that the truck driver needs to know. You should be familiar with those things, so you have an idea what you're dealing with and when you're booking a load. So like I said, it's being a dispatcher is not just finding a load going from point A to point B. That's the final step. There's so much other things you need to know. And when you're running reefer, man, it's there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you need to know about everything. You need to know market projections. You know, you need to know hot zones, cold zones. You need to know tri-haul, what those options are. You need to be able to plan, know what your shipper, you know, you'll get over time. You know, you'll be able to start standing what that is, you know, with your shipper, and getting that taken care of. So anyway, that's all I got to talk to you about on this this one here. I don't know what happened with my video. Looks like my camera just did some kind of a funky thing, so we're gonna try and get that taken care of. So anyway, been a pleasure speaking with you guys. Next one I'm going to talk, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm going to drop another video here in the next day or two. But you guys have yourself a great day, be safe, and have fun, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.